destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct,
Good conduct.
art and knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan. I prostrate, make offerings, and
go for refuge.
When, O supreme amongst humans, you were born in this earth, you paced our
Just
seven
out seven strides and then said,
supreme in this world.
To you who are wise, then I prostrate.
Pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the three worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate, with supreme signs, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, dust free like you, the three worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one God thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower roles, the one path, the sublime reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all three ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms in all aspects. With supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See condition things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Page 15 for the Heart Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time. Bhagawan was dwelling on massive Vulture's mountain in Radgriya, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagawan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perfection. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya of Vichavara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya of Vichavara. How should any son of the lineage train the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya of Kashivara said this to the Venerable Sharadavadaputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding these five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness. Not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomena. There is no eye element and so on, up to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance and no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear, Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the endpoint of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Arya Avgachavara, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you've indicated. Even the Tadakas rejoice. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharadvaraputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avgachavara, those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised at spoken by the Bhagavan. Page 25 for the short mandala. Sashi Poke Chaching Me Dotram Rera Blink Sange Shingu Me Teo Agi Drogon Nam Dak Jing La Cho Pasho Jetsun Lama Dampa King Rokala Kensi Chenjig Jeta Sampe Do Jason Mala Zake Choke Chapa Bab Tu So Eram Guru Ratna Mandala Kamnaryatayami Ge Chodan Soke Chodamwa Janjo Baluday Nikyapsuchi Dagi Chunyenge Pei Sonam Ki Drola Penchia Sange Drupash Sange Chodan Soke Chodamwa Janjo Baluday Nikyapsuchi Dagi Chunyenge Pei Sonam Ki La Penchia Sange Drupash Sange Chodan Soke Chodamwa Janjo Baru De Nikapsuchi Dagi Chinyenge Peso Namki Jola Penchia Sange Drupash.
Gong in the gender or John Wami or the Neva, Chalami or the Neva, Wami or the Ade de Medijime, the Nishineva, so was a Yamana Gitamba de la Chate. When you just on the Javela, she just in the Evangelist, Chana de Modede, so I do version to remember. But there's a Lamara Moja and I think the Robin and the General Village and Bergonages on the was not to do what was said also. Yeah, that another true. Any yeah, the Gawala Jin La Domando said the Gulon Ralegiore. And the Gulon the Chud and Tumbaji Mena, Kanshia, Kanye, Chud, the Chuya Wajina, Churches to Will Mare. He do any Gulon bed some magic. Jewa the Kijimore in the Gulon Kandeche or Lana. That and the Chunya, the Rani Chiwoge. Suzuki Woge, the Duya Maimba, the Dungesia, and the Utuya de Maimba. Ral Gadincheve, setting a Pamani to SMJ Tamjela Pema Bashi, Duya and LamRim. Ningi, Sambi, Gombi, Sambekon, Guno, Niji, Shimbe Chanjus, and Guno, Yawachi Cheshosra.
Marilla. So, in terms of listening to Dharma, whether or not that Dharma has fast waves of blessing or not, depends on the motivation. If that correct motivation is not there, even though one is listening to pure Dharma, it does not become pure Dharma. So the motivation should be excellent or pure. The motivation that we listen to should be that we want to, in terms of, on the merit side, accumulating merit, and then helping to remove suffering of all living beings, that should be done not just for oneself, but solely to benefit all sentient beings. So in that context, one does the threefold hearing, reflecting, and meditating with the altruistic intention of the bodhicitta mind. Correct your intention accordingly.
Haya, 다 가와 공부하는 거는 드링이 맞들라야 근데 직처 자체 모든 제니야 그 그거 라서 비미시 겨워성분이 겨워성분레레와 인디 임발라 임바디 코션은 네스는 가와 겨워레스 가와 공부레스와
Now we should rejoice that today we have connected with the holy or the precious Buddha Dharma. It is a good opportunity that we have come across. So recognizing that reality as a reality is a cause for rejoicing. So rejoice in that.
haya 다 먼저 단다디다 람림 최니에들라다 대진 subject 자외 subject 시나게 subject 숨바디 동보디 니 저어버치와 된주 좀보디 수레스와 저지 반대 디샤단 제르무친 차게 여러와 이네 다 추기 쳐와 니와 추기 쳐와 간시에게 추디 조디 안심기도야게 탐람 네다조 지 수로 공대다 제와게 네 신이 디즈네 제밀로에 송조파도 남기림바 추 마노와지 여와디 추기 쳐와치 다 쳐와니단데 왜 추라니 제시다 쳐와서 근데 추자 전부지나 네 년도 컨디션으로 셰듀 컨디션으로 스타디와 년발은 여기 준수 뭐 등게 두시 투템 봤어야 돼서 다 기승도 스토 심바레스로
So this middle length LamRim that we're listening to, looking at these, different subheadings of it. The first one is in terms of the three subheadings, recognizing the author, recognizing that it's a valid teacher by recognizing the authors of the text. And here we looked at Atisha, Lama Atisha, and Lama Sankapa. Secondly, the Dhamma being explained, being valid, is that it is for subduing. The point is to subdue the unsubdued mind from all of the different teachings on it, from relying on the spiritual friend to Buddhahood. And then thirdly, how to listen and explain the Dharma. With regards to this third subheading, we talked about listening to the Dharma being free of the 3 faulty vessels and the 6 attitudes or 6 correct discriminations. That's where we left off.
다시는 최 년배 주디 아니 가서를 랑기 주 땡라 파워스는 심주 투베치디 인기에 심주 랑주 심주 되어치야다 심지신라 펜버바시 되어치디 랑기 심주 되어치디 인기에 선다 꾸노 지난다 디나라 제다 먹고 쉐르데 돌드나 먼저 단단하면서 최년이지 단단한 삼는 데시 담배네 야고 요래서 단다 칸이야디 랑게 심기 심규 마지 마시바디 시바치야다 마두바디 투바치야치디 닝게여스 아니 고바디 아니 디 라니게 심규 뒤나 네 미실라 편도치도 걸어봤어 제가 타도나 밀레신 미신라 편도치야치디네 랑게 심규 두베치디 닝게여스 어딘데시 단단한 인데스 상로 카두글라 니 니고야 직다 상단은 야고 요래스로
So when we, in general, there are many points in terms of how to listen to Dhamma, but essentially the point is to be able to subdue our mind before we can help others. So in terms of motivation, that's what we should think, that initially we need to make the unpacified parts of our mind pacified, the unsubdued mind into subdued in terms of our very selves, and then we can set about to benefit others, to benefit them. So in order to benefit them, when we listen to Dhamma at this very time, at this very moment, we should have that attitude.
나도 최인주듯이 근데 내 당하나서 최셰베 당 지컬서라냐 수수지 개개인다 계제들마다 데 민유는다 최무 시그라 되면은 저런서 미신을 최셰기 그거 요래스로 최셰스도 인지민지 나 최셰서 되다 배표절이야지 하고도 알아서 단다 데 지조되니나 아니 미망고지 지 다들 최 니야게 그거 매와 그거 말아봐 그거 변이나야 되니 매와와 근데 내게 망보지다 저런저로 두고 열어와 두는데 다 되니 매니들 우주가요 말다로 이 되니 누가 매니지라 니 최년고래서 최된데 야고 열어서 쉬셔야 되나 대 편도 말와 그 되니다 누가 매니지라 당 생기 강의 도스와다 생기 강의 컨데 세고레스 근데 기지 되니던데도나 안 되더라네 말하면서 뒤에 로종 거기에 직 sembasambocheda 데베니 주 두가도 상마다야 아니 밀라지 견장장 상마다야 연된 초로 상마다야 원데르도서 셰위나 아니 최 밀라야 파주 셰위나 대최 셰버스 그러봐 근데 최 셰위 내가라 나 상마칸데 당고 요레스 어디 시기 그러다
Now, looking at how to explain the Dharma, page 15, whether one is listening to the Geshe or the Lama or the spiritual friend, you get that opportunity at the Dharma Center. Many may not get that opportunity, or there are those, in fact, who do get the opportunity but do not practice. One should not push in that sense, that those who have the opportunity but do not wish to listen. There are some who cannot, but the teaching should be given to those who come to you and are concerned with removing their problems and suffering, and in the context of wishing to increase kind heart or good heart, and reducing faults on the one hand and increasing and cultivating good qualities on the other. The Dharma should be explained to the students that are interested in that.
다 최셰외 주딜라 시스락도와 최셰외 평균 삼바선 덤바단 철러 림루게와 삼바단 저베시다 셔바다 유칸라 셰바다 미시베 개발스 아니 대진 시군에 마치 요레스로
Now, how to explain the Dharma has these four parts or four subheadings. One, considering the advantages of explaining the Dharma. Secondly, generating respect for the teacher and Dharma. Third, what kind of attitude and activities to explain with. And finally, number four, distinction between the explanations, who the explanations should and should not be given to.
다 최셰외 평균들라니 저래 추진 유무 지민이 도서 시다든 스디랑 릴레야 디치를 칸다 아니 최 로벌 체바 미치 다최 로벌에도 최 로벌 체바 다 심유문진다 녀바다 구데다 타와되어 체바 대다게 다 선한 친구냥 버치그레스다 아지 최 셰베 내가서 꿀론 로버지게 셰베이나 녀몽게 셰바 녀바옹게 셰바 구데안의 셰바 타와 담년다 체도 신데 셰베이나 아니 선한 폐주셰제 선한파 매버차로 그래스로
So, giving the Dharma, it says in Treasury of Knowledge, or Zi, should be free of mental afflictions. The Dharma should not be given in a kind of inverse way or invalid way with bad motivation together with an afflicted mind, nor should it be taught with the thought of fame and name. These should be avoided.
다 꿀론 장모지 이거네 아니 최셰베이나로와 꿀론 당기나신 거는 직신라 펜터 파지게 체도 아니 셰베이나 아니 지 텐데게 다지 쇼다 상신이 칸디시베 꾼테달레 테베 꿀론 장모지 셰베이나 아니 최셰베 편유시 천번이죠. 단 람린 치면나라도 최승배 편유만 오실수는 봐.
Yeah.
근데 뭐야다 소나 빠드메바 토비야다 미다 미마이게 네 로마치야다 아니 수술라지 랑도게 네시야다 아니 지 케와망부지라야지 가서래 네 수술라 딤볼레야다 만딘데게다 최 진배난게다 초디 교바디 초기 진바이 있어라 파르발라 먼저 네 진배난게 초디 교바디 직 칸스는 믹진바이 있어라 배나서 미지가 믹매나 아니 통고 말봐 콜라 믹스데나 그 정말 통고로 봐 티나시 아니 최셰바디 아니 미믹매니라 믹진바나 신기 아니 베미시 그 다소남 첨부 쉬우지 요레스 어딘데 송고 요레스로
Okay, now if the Dharma is taught, it should be given with, as we just mentioned, a clean motivation, with the thought of benefiting others, solely benefiting them. And if the Dharma is taught free from these types of faults, like free from being together with affliction or for name and fame and so forth, then the merit that is accrued is huge, a vast amount of merit, and one will be free from the harms of humans and non-humans. One will easily be able to decipher what to adopt and abandon on the path. And as it is said, there are these 20 advantages. They are listed in the vast LamRim, 20 advantages of giving the gift of Dharma. But it is said, of all the generosities, the superior generosity is the gift of Dharma. And it is like, of all the things you're offering, you're giving one's eye. So it is with the eye that one is able to see. Similarly, the gift of giving Dharma is like that. Yes.
아드네 니와 덤바단 철러를 느껴왔어. 니와 다 최송니단 최니가라야 네 림느껴왔어야 되라. 예외 юм송반나서와 다 최송니들라 네 덤바니지 댄샴바제 다 되라야 아니지 최장도 단다 최기 이제 나단데 슈디다가나 대야돼서 네 최로 90집에 치더라. 지상 点想把这是的来兄弟家都说你去，你去三节那边那不如来新一边去的对边原点了，隔定天呢，你苦不接我了，他开这些地方都苦些些的是吧？
Now, point number 2, page 16, generating respect for the teacher and the Dharma. So, as Buddha arranged a seat to sit on to teach, similarly, out of respect for the Dharma, we arrange a seat. But what is most important is remembering the kindness of the teacher and respecting them in that regard, venerating them as Buddhists.
我的今天送报的了，你上报当作为写主写的吧，300个人写主，上作为写主的了，你送报了你上报当作为你写的吧
？And then thirdly, what kind of attitude and activities or actions to explain with? So those two, what attitude should one have and what should be the activities or actions?
那上报的看这是呢，老周就是学的，对呢，对些我下过来是。他去下边那个了，让你明白那些是吧？你去了面对这些，你去年的了，年外的这些是吧？你提前学过了，就特别这些，三节当中了，就特别这些。去就去了，人都那边这些，现在他去写的样，别的有人不别的牛的家伙了没事，去写的经历了没了偏头嘛了吧？但是那我度假去呢，被有人不方面上面讲点巧了吧？天南星。上路当下，你考了强迫工吧，是吧？你先套啊些个，差多没些个，是吧？你这属于去写色都了强迫工业，你看些人被路中也我也能得了，套啊差多没这样。你到去写你偏多民族上的，来老偏头嘛，是吧？你继续给来老帮呀，样样切为艺术为呢，教我帮也심叫什么中央用过的话的，去写的开些个卷中国的，开些个你用的写个嘛用的写个，开些个的就没得越南就说定个嘞，等这些个都了，因为教我就是帮些尊重中国的是吧？大年朝新的卷不了，大年朝新的卷另外是的。没先去卷另外嘛人吧，先去原点查，让给卷爬着呀。你去了必须去了是去了呀，去现实的了，你人去了嘛人吧。你社会来说为上升去的，去现的你上升的，谁的亏的当的你的都是的去了嘛人吧。命运的可是那让先三界特别去的。电别孙那么听你也那对有这些上不到古龙上不等这些过年让新什么就他们这了他为什么就他们生活动业就塞了钱呐什么新边就古龙上不就多呢你上不写最的话题也是吧
So the attitude when teaching the Dharma is given in terms of these 5 attitudes of oneself teaching as the doctor, the Dharma as medicine, the students as patience, and the Tathagata as a valid being, a holy being, and that the mode of the Dharma abiding for a long time, the Dharma abiding for a long time, and then, of course, the attitude of loving kindness towards the people listening in terms of the Dharma abiding a long time, just as it takes a while for a patient to heal from a disease, then one should have the long-term view that it takes a while for, the freedom from samsara to occur. So not just teaching Dharma once or twice, but over a sustained period of time. And then that attitude of love should be there. And if others, do well out of their studies, one should not have the kind of fear or jealousy that they have become more knowledgeable or have become superior. One should not be discouraged or get downhearted when one has to explain things again and again. And then next, not praising or lauding oneself and on the latter hand, pointing out others' faults that should be abandoned. And then one should also not do things wanting kind of material gain or fame. But rather one should think that one is teaching this Dharma not for the above mentioned things, but to remove the suffering of sentient beings with a good intention and bring them to Buddhahood. One should think like that.
다 간다 최셰위나 년바이나 그는 군론디 장모 거야 된다. 벤년디 쉽지 송고도 알아.
Yeah, so essentially, whether one is listening to Dharma or teaching it, one should try and have a pure motivation of a good intention. This is essentially it.
이 상바치 다 좋아들라 니 투체신 장다당 덴베 쾌장모 칸바 다도서 개점벌에 최 닝게 다로 최를 구셔지베지 닝게 나래 챙게 나래 아니 지 카둘라도 제 장마치 둘러져서 상마권데 최를 구셔지는 안텔라데네 소나민 거로 장신 유대에 사죠 아니 최체세 사자도서 대중한도 라마든데 피디네 지치고로와 장도치고요와 말한도 최체세 사자도서 장마소에나 아니 가져주면 하도서 장라를 가고요와 아니 도서 걸고요와 근데 장마면은 가져주면 하도서 걸고요 말와 어딘데지 사저 장마치 아니 티단 땡을 커봤어요 세상 티 최세년이라 아니 티자들이 땡 안수수 땡 최세 다지 최부 다고 세계나 최세년의 최년의 신이 바로라 nema 찍버라고 대교 말해서 와 대서 니네의 마체 신이의 토즈유나 아니 고급십 맞아 아니 두 사주면 싫어님 뭐래 싫어님 못 되면 아니 싫어님 못 되면 벌었대네 아니 대코유 되면도 최시도 미만인도 타도치기 열어 미 타도치기 용거도 미만인 거 타도치야 빠제 자순제도 두단 두지네 하나님이 용거 말해서다 근데 그 바제 추고 말했어 용용이나야 컨저게 아니 바제 치는 거 말했을 때 로르 제주시에 돌을 숨바다 될때 좀 내대랑 게 근데 송거래스나 네 싫어님 못 때문에 당선한다 싫어님 못 때문에 빼야 오여라고 오늘 유롱 먹고는 쉬우지 팽겨로 계산데 최셔야 되다 오늘 사제 신기라베야 당 진압 오늘 그다 데레 당도 tindu 세령원에 차셔베는 다데게 랍이 준디 되게 어려라고라 랍준디 야가데나 디미기 수보다 셈다 르다 강바다 르데 데테르데 네도 시바 차도야 펜토고요 세상에서 최천이지에디 당원에 베미시게 그치 르다 셈다 창말라 펜도에 된 요지리 되요레스로
So then, in terms of actions that should be done, certain actions should be done either when listening or teaching Dharma, in the context of respecting the teaching. One should have clean clothes and clean the place where the Dharma is being taught, and out of that merit accrues. So, often that's why when Dharma is taught, we clean the place, we make it nice, make it a place of Dharma. And when that happens, like the Dharma seat's made nicely and so forth, then let's say deities on the white side will support and the deities on the negative side won't obstruct. And that happens. And as is said, in terms of the teacher of the Dharma and those listening to the Dharma, the teachers of the Dharma, the teacher's throne should be a little higher than those listening out of respect. And then if the mantras are done, like we do the Heart Sutra, even if, then in that case, the non-humans can't make obstacles when the Dharma is taught, because what happens is oftentimes when Dharma is taught, the non-humans get jealous. But if these mantras are given, then they will not come. And even if they do come, they can't make obstacles for Dharma. And this was actually stated by Shakyamuni Buddha and validated in this sutra. That's why we recite the Heart Sutra. It's very beneficial to recite the Heart Sutra. So it's a benefit in terms of the Dharma being taught, but it's also a benefit in terms of the waves or vibrations of sound that come from it. And those, it gives merit, and these actions benefit the body, these actions benefit the mind, and they also benefit the place.
아니 신기 당 라드세 다 최신의 그 동바도서 같이 시상자 니고 그러죠 nhập 대에서 많이 봐 아니 퇴행에 인라 배단제 그러고 배단 아니 땡지스 리바 롱 근데 단에 아니 최셰디오 근데 셰고래서 최셰단도 라고도 알아더라
Yeah, and it goes on to say from that sutra requested by Sangaramati, therefore you should chant that mantra and with an extremely radiant facial complexion. Give your explanations with examples, proofs, quotations, factors for ascertaining the meanings.
아드네 시바디 최 유칸라 셰거다 미셰거서 다 미 간주만 좀 셰요. 도월에 마스요벌 셰어 미차와서 마스요 미차와서는 셰서 최 셰러스 말하는 딜레 체초 말해서 와. 아니 직체. 야 때다 수수게 배 미들 뇌 따네로 와. 배추 셰게 뇌 룽구도나 야 마스요나나 야 셰초 그래서 와. 누루 많이 나는 최셔라나 시기요 말다. 누 과시에 다 쳐다쳐야 비즈니스로 된데 다 잡종데 꾸론다 직된데 체 장마제 매버체 아니 직초단 최마와라 부셔 매버체 이나야 직도가 이베 넘버 된지 셰로시 라비 이나야 셰요 말레스 아직 리카시 최셔야 그 뇌도 룸베다 두두 다다 캐데 하고는 그 최셔로스 말하나네 될 셰오레서 어디 어디 숨고요래로
And one should not just teach kind of without being asked, do not act without being asked to do so. So one should be requested to teach. But if one is requested to teach and one knows that, the person that's requesting is going to use it for harm, or even not going to use it for harm, but has a motivation, for example, of using it in a business manner for an, ill-intentioned or not a good motivation, it should not be given. Conversely, if you know that teaching the Dharma to that being, to that sentient being, will benefit them, then that's another case. It can be taught without having been asked. It is acceptable if you know the vessel.
어다디네 다 숨바디 년바다 셰바니기 니우기 투무기 네 가르 잡아 들어봐 투무 가르쳐 오래라다 투무다 최 년바라 되네 소남사여레 최 셰월 되네 소남사여레 최다 소남사 샤바디 아니 개와도서 melon야오다냐 그봐 다 최 셰바 년배 개외 자원남 상고지에 melon서 다 상조 melon서 된데 melon 되나요 되면아야 melon 두두든데 되나 그래 어딘데 체제가 다 최디 네 개와디 네지 계시주디 네 직산제 된바타야 당 로디야 당 점물리시되어야 당 다딘데 심주 다 수수면은 가리 잡네 또 계시시 최단 되면 면은 지겨 뭐면은 최고래서 어디 대승무여래로
So, and then there are things that should be done that are in common with both those listening and those teaching in terms of the merits. And those are that those roots of virtues that have been accrued should be dedicated or sealed by making prayers such as the King of Prayers, isn't it? The prayer of good conduct, and so forth. Here, you're dedicating that the Buddha Dharma, the doctrine, remains along in this world and that is able to benefit beings in that record, in that light. But in short, one is dedicating the roots of virtue to that.
어디 자와 가와이나 이러와 꿀론 담을 꿀론 특히 좀 뭐야 디네베 먼저 가리나 야면은 추니게 요래 야면은 추시게 요래 야면은 추치다 조금 제고 요래 가르제위나 아니 디네가라 저 가리 꿀론데 야고지 그와 저 심주도야다 아니 신변요야 제도다 아니 디네 지 디네 년바다 셰베네 거서 계획자와도 좀오면 남치야 야고지 충분히나 아니 개월랍진직사 개월랍진사발라 데네 아니 지 나초 년바다 셰바도 가시에다 내도 마송 같은데 중요나 아니 오면람 쳐버디 떡에 야 개배자와디 떡에 마게 아니 추추 니신내도 마송 바다 직패 람로과로 삼노 직디버로 사바던데 중요나 어디서 다로야다 니신내도 송하다 어디든데 연구해서 어디 송거래로
So this is really talking about how our motivation should be pure, whether listening to the Dharma, teaching it, or practicing it, meditating upon it. Because really this whole point is to, once again, subdue the mind and cultivate bodhicitta. And when one dedicates the roots of merit, roots of virtue of having done that, great waves of merit accrue. But also there's the possibility that when having listened or taught, one could have made mistakes, or there could have been some things that are incomplete. So in order for those to be, purified or a countermeasure to them, then when you do the King of Prayers or such dedications at the end, by the power of the merit, by the power of merit of that, those mistakes are purified.
예전 최 년바다는 셰바도서 가르치듯이 시고로서 소소 심지도야 제대로와 심로 편배시도다 아니 시기요래 년기요로와 근데 능어 집에 가들라 다 찍된데면 당에 최 년바이나 년바디 다다지 내가 손도에 셰위나 셰바디 내가 손도에 다제 오체제 아니 지기나 단단해 당 고조용 거로와 근데 야부 중나 아니 배 제라 야부 용거래 스티메나 예선다 텔라 체직네 주나 아니 체중에 받을 주로 그래서 봐. 먼저 다시 체 다와질라 다와디게 체와 찍네 아니 야고지 마주나나 아니 체와 정화서 배드네 마 야고지 공부마 레스 다와지 그 자와직으로 와다 다와직에 자와직으로 와 제가 니마 찍네 주나 니마 니도도 체제네 주로에 녀들 최 이제는 단다디다 기부 담만남지 내려야다 내가 전부 찍이 요래 최 년배 최단 셰베 최도도 직부 타보지 야고지 차면도 따야 돼. 개주무 쉬우지래서 돼. 어다데 젊은이 미세대 양 야송도 알아.
So again, Lama Tsongkhapa is reminding us or highlighting us the importance of keeping a good motivation at the beginning, but also dedicating at the end, because once again, when listening or teaching the Dharma, the sole benefit is to subdue the mind, to benefit and gain knowledge in knowing how to subdue the mind. So one dedicates that, and when one dedicates at the end, whether having listened or taught, one then does a checking as to whether one was, did it properly or not. And as is said, that just like the waxing moon, if the actions are done well on the first of the month with the new moon, then the resultant full moon will ripen accordingly well. It is like that with good motivation coming out well in the end as well. It'll be free of obstacles and things will go well.
어디체 나드네 시와 담방고 길로마 시다데베린 바서와 네 다 저업이 채와 추이 채와 채원이들이 외출하니 시치다 채와 아니 담방고 길로마 시다데베린 바스다 담방고 길로마 시다데베린 바스야 데타 슝 람링게 응위시 슝위시 되네마 고조용 거레스라.
Now we begin the main body of the LamRim. So page 17, explanation of the stages by which the student of the actual instructions should be guided. So this is where the sequential stages begin proper. So there's two: the route of the path, how to rely on the spiritual friend, spiritual teacher, and the stages of having how to train one's mind once you have relied.
다디라 람지 자와 신이 딘주된 데네 로시다 제베 림바스 다디 제니 디 람림 차자 디난라 듀도 거래 람지 자와 신이 딘주 데네 로시다 제베 림바스 따라와
Yeah, so in those two, if you look at the route of the path, how to rely on a spiritual teacher, and secondly, the stages of training the mind once you have relied, well, all of the stages to Buddhahood are there, isn't it?
바제상 저 람스디 칼라 거래스는 거나 저 람스는 아니 뒤중하는 저지 베네 시디로 가지 두고 있나 랑가지 균은 도그러와
Yeah.
그래 페이지 통제로 가지 두고 있나 랑가지 균은 도그러와 야면은 칼람 균은 도그러 야면은 출람 균은 주 도그러 야면은 사그는 람 균은 도그러다 간다와 세상 대나시 다 산제 살로 도야라야 아니 된대게 랑가 그 림바라고 지다 된제 된대 요레스로
Well, what is a path? We might ask. Just as to go to a city or village or place, one needs a path, a road by which one traverses. If you're going on the earth, or if you're going somewhere else, then you're going in space. Anyway, in terms of our goal, the state of Buddhahood, we need a path for that. We need means for traveling there.
그래서 베나 오클랜드 어질라 도고이나 디네 나신 디네 바당 뭐 뭐라다 이제 세가나 도고다로 그래 남르나 도고이나 남르도 당부 세가네 필부다로 근데 내 남라 필부다 다디나 지로지레다 세가네 피야 랑가디젤라 아니 파진티베 람지림바 디게디 시기요레 주파르지메 테베 람지림바 디게디 세가네 도야 랑가스드레 일단 남게네
Ser gold.
Sirmada Sasa Earth.
Oh, Sa. Yeah, Earth path. Yeah.
Sagana Dogura Langa Yorwa Lam.
Yeah.
Tarachidan Lam, Modadan Dogura.
Yeah.
Modadan Do Namdan Dogura. No, Denashi. The Jagrin Badi Jedi and Pajintegwe, Guparich Metavelam Jirin Badawachre. Tadine Namduna la Pirja to Duzangala and Naganam no Dona Shirish.
Okay, Gisla. So when one sets out, for example, in terms of a path to go to Auckland from Nelson, if one is driving there, one needs to know the road, and one goes by one's car using that road, which is like the great vehicle, the vehicle of the Mahayana. But then if one wishes to go by plane from Nelson to Auckland, that's like the tantric path of the Vajrayana.
Langa Tangbo Deni, Tangbo Chin, Roma Shinijin, all the net doors, Langa, Labja Jani, Langa Deni, Joroma,
Yeah.
What they door, the net, they door, large Lamido, the Keveshini, Langa de Tishajap, Langa, Rodan Lamiejo, Tangone Suji, Roshingamaro, Mijlamie Gorota. What this you did against me, the kitchen which have your reservoir.
But prior to actually going, one needs someone that knows the road, that knows the path, that knows how to drive you there. Or so you need a pilot or a driver, and that is the spiritual friend, one who knows the path and knows how to traverse it.
Lamji Zawa Shinyi Dinju, Shinyi said any Shinyi said shit said Toboro, gave Tobo. And then so Gishi Sigdo, Gishi said give it Toboro. Yes. Isn't that Lamji Zawa give Tobo, give Langa Yagutini, gave it Tobo Yaguchi to ya the kitchen boys, Roya Watch. 어디에 델레 람지사와 신이 된 주스타 얘네다 개겐세야 되로 계신 보러 봐만서 지단게 롭존이나 롭데나라 개겐 계정 보러 롭더디나네 Loma yago thoma donde lobra di nala gegen yago yume la rashiv legdo
Mm.
lobra di nala gegen yago ji yuna ane loma yago shibudinde tuyongo do lobra di nala gegen yago mena ane yago thongo mi do ta anzo gombale thare gombale gegen yago ji mate nana de la dene mezi thola do ya ninga yo shaza shaza anzo gombale nala gegen de kechimbo shioji 배 다제체네 당모 배 남상 가수고라 배저 티가 조금 말해 다제체 개겐 다제체 네 대전에 수수 가다 기정아 개겐 쉐로지 이루 냐로시 야로슈로 네 개겐 티게
Kompandang la e.
네 진짜라 도쳐줘네 당한저 늦어도 와이네 잡다다 수유나 용쳐줘 수도나 도쳐줘 본발라 된대 요마로
Alelos.
아저 도와다 데스다 베디 견자로지 차로도 딩류기 따지 미디어가 딘치타베스로 시체다 근데 나르게 직도조 나시 도나야 딩산 미디어조다 나오지우로 최대 나오지우지 지고선 딘자 아니 최 가져 퇴베 나래 몸 가져 자위는 펜시를 도우면다 그래서나 법에 이제 구셨다 네 가서 벨루도 시라 찌게요 말아 심딩네 팀에도 아니 그 시라 펜세 시라 토고요 말아서 안저 공부도 와이네요 그최 기겐라 대봐요래 기겐 마 찍찍 라베네 수수 셈나라베 펜도요로 티가르스는 배 구셨다 대화디 야고지 요로 다디 내가 전부래도 와 다 이나 안저 당가 전환수도 진 망부 년사로 망부 년사래 그래서 내가 신경 때래 다 현재 샤쇼 뭐 임바체제다 그래서 이 사무단이 뭐네 기겐스니디 가가지 지게 수수 가린 친구 가가지 이메로 아니 대조 시에베나 가린디 시나 안데라 쿠잡리거와 먼저 롭데나라 기겐도 가린 마시미지 기겐다 롭 찍고 차는데 기겐 롭데나라 롭좀 야고지 연구 말아 제가 딩상 딩드 롭좀 도단 도와지 낭주간라 추잖아 대용야 요 말에서
So now, with the term spiritual friend, it's really the term really means a friend of virtue. So, if we look at the word geshe, it is like a friend endowed with virtue. And then that becomes the root of the path because that friend that's endowed with virtue is the shower of the path for you, the virtuous friend. And in that context, we can see how important it is that the teacher is good. So in the context of the teacher's relationship with the disciples and the classes, and the relationship between the students and the teacher, whether that goes well or not, depends on that relationship between the students and the spiritual friend. So for example, in the monastery, that was done with quite a lot of thought given to it, that we would approach the teacher with a kata and request them to teach, like analyze them well, and not take that teacher on easily or quickly, particularly, whereas in the West it just seems to be that it's done if someone advertises, and due to those advertising, then teachings are given like that. But what happens in that case is that one can lose respect and one can only hear what one likes to hear. And if one doesn't like to hear it, one doesn't show due respect to that teacher of the Dharma. So laziness can creep in. And when that happens, one doesn't see the benefit, because you don't see the benefit of the teacher or respect the Dharma, then you don't get the benefits. So really what's important in the monastery when we did it was that we had faith. We had faith in the spiritual teacher. Even just hearing one word, we had faith in that word, and out of that we got respect. So those two things, respect and fostering a good connection or relationship with the teacher, is very important. And I know that you here that are listening, you've heard these teachings a lot, not just to leave it at that, but to know that how the teacher is kind from what they do, and the benefits from their teaching. It seems to be these days that if the teacher and the disciples are seen as the same, like on the same path, same level or same path, then there lacks that respect and benefit. Yes.
그래서 먼저 팅두기 롭종 돼야지 미유가래 내가 라야 치들어 왔다 배셔서야 치들어 왔다 사도나 배셔서야 치들어 왔다 간다 미유 데려왔다 간다 대가라 여마라 왔다 미유 딜레하가 여마라다 아니 하면은 지 개와 정보 깨다 정보를 주소야 돼 물론 다 배사를 주소야 돼 미미 미유 다라로 왔다 낭배 추디 미유 데마로 배셔서야 미유 말에 깨다 정보 써야 미유 말로就是심기 강에스 윤조디 마세야당 심 디기 용단조디야 야리야다 미유데와 대야 먼저 남배 벽 남바산jewe 최대 대 라니 지구게 되던도 아마인다 아니 심진 신이 되던도 왜 최대네 로전 지기에서도 배데 미유 다 꾸는 거는 배도 거나 로가로 배도 다대로 때려 당하 거나 요마 되니라
Here, oftentimes, the thought is just to get a job, motivation, and then just to get money from that job, no more than that, or to get famous, isn't it? But the motivation when one seeks out the Buddha Dharma, the focal object, is completely not that. It's not for money, it's not for fame. The idea is that one removes the problems and sufferings in the mind, and conversely fosters mental well-being, deki, mental well-being of mind, so that is increased. And particularly in the Tibetan Buddha Dharma, in that context, you're not doing it just for yourself, but to benefit others. So when we look at these two motivations, these two focal objects, they're completely opposite, and we should not mix them up.
어디 남지도 신이딘지 시대는 로시다지베린 마시 통볼라니 니와지베 중세 조디시와다 중주도데 데마스 니체 다당원 니와지베 중세 시와달라 노메줄라 윤데나지 게바다 쿄나지 지베 인제 델레탐제제 자가 담베게베 신이라 되는 거라서 당하나서 노메줄라 윤데다 쿄다 para 윤데마 윤데 게야다 쿄디베도 상마 이게 지기나 개배신이라 기겐데네 연구요 인상 하고도 낭배추시고다 디인상 아니 개배신이스니 개정 버려서 디인주다 개배신이 친이 된저 개배신이 친이 안 로마라야 친이라 된저 로메 친이 된저 개배신이 친이 된저 로메 친이 어다 친이 셰기어레스로
Okay, so then there's two in terms of how to rely on the teacher. There's like the elaborate explanation that generates certainty, and the condensed presentation of how to maintain that. So, in terms of all goodness, starting from just cultivating one good quality in the student and decreasing a single negative fault, this has its root in the spiritual friend. So that's why from the outset, the correct reliance on the spiritual friend is important. So now we get on to what defines, what defines a spiritual friend, what defines a student. That's all.
다들라 대전으로 이제 툭 용구도 다 툭들이 용구 다 당보들라 아니 지리 송으로 본데던 제월이 태과수수 태과소소 태과침 태과충 태과첨보 아니 망보직 송요레스 딜네 기우스음지 남지를 몇티네스 갑디 람린라 람린기 죄자가 가르스네 기우스음지 남지를 말했어 기우스음서 나가서 아 최지하게 다 최지하게 람들라 그겐된다네 이제 산제 공부서도 또 다른 받지 아디 최냠내진이 미들라 대전 숨이요레스 대전 숨들라 기우충 기우팅스 대전 찍데 가서나 당저 년로게 년송게 동일라 징내와 아니 미기 공부한테야 그치도 미기 겨울래야 치도 겨우치마 네 지배 잠도시야다 지미기 주공 수준 송야다 된대게 겨와 짐바당 수준 송치니 이제 릭들라 기우충무스로 미유디 겨우치마 문도 하다 미 공부한테 시도 최신이들라 기우충무스 다 대표진 출력 상매에 출력 상매에 겨우치마들라 야구 정야시도 상당히 여러 낭발라 미세 군조스물 잡스트웨 띵네 겨와샤고라 아디 기우 충무지 기우 딩라데다 겨치마 밀루데 탐나에 디그민도스로 저 밀루데라 배 동이지냐 레셔스다 점링데나 따다 미스니데 둔들레 삼달라 동에 마음 메로 삼사를 시와 둔두스도 상상 칼라사 니고 잠무제 따라왔다 아 칼라마라베 동이지요레 아니 니마구나 아니 먹을 동네자 아예 든도서 니 요구 되다 든도 만자 니 요시 구더라
Yeah.
밀라 니 먹고 배 동네도 든도라 니 먹고 배 동네 예서 말다 아 밀라 니
Tiro.
먹고 배 동네도 진짜 미 동네 망아 예서다 도 스타디 아니 스트레스 소래 감다 소래 더고 배진 디 트라우마라 도 배진 든도라 자 아예 다 가시 다 든도 만자라 매매 소식도 든든드마 자니 교실 쿠시 되기도록 그러나 니 후에 드즈들라 에니 여실 쿠제베 되되기도 안저 미 니마고 아니 게베 동에 아니 지도 뭐고 지 마라베 동에 다 띵산 틴데 아마 다 잠불링디나 다다 밀라다다 에 동에 녀녀서 미 가시 동에 녀녀서 이제 민도 산자 다 밀레 겨울에는 초민도 딜레 타버지나다 다 타버지 토고도 순이다 딜레 타버 요레스 암바산제 베로아 미둥에데 뉴모도 존라데네 중교레 뉴모도 존데 로로고지라 데네 중교레 데 빵베 자와다 뉴모게 자와 디무드제 마르발 데네 중와데 빵야 요레스 디빵베 봉바 타버터베 요레스 타버터 지산 타버트니게 타버트니에 체데 라버스미 냠네 딘실랑도 냠네 체 따데 암바산제베 추게 시름되데 어다 기부 딩네 고투 용고스레와 어들라 기부 딩스 다 기부 딩데 온들 하미 공반 잠마임바 데데는 코와딜레 탈베 타와직 된데니네 라니 코와질레 탈베 타와직 된데니니 최냠네 진이들라 기부 딩스 어딘데라고요 레스로
So then we have to look. We're talking about what defines the spiritual friend in terms of relying on them, and also what defines the students. So top of page 18, there are these like 6 subheadings, and we will go through them. So firstly, the virtuous friend, and then the characteristics of the one who relies, the students, the advantages of reliance and so forth, and not relying, and the summary of the meaning of these points. So we have to look generally and then think that the path that's being traversed is, being undertaken by the individual practicing Buddha Dharma from correct reliance on the spiritual friend right up to Buddhahood. And in that context, we would say that person has these differing capacities of, initial, medium, and vast capacity. So we know then that in context of the one practicing with the initial capacity, they're trying to prevent birth in the lower realms and secure a rebirth of higher status as a human or God, independence upon refuge, being ethical and so forth, then one wants to secure the future life as a God or human. But one does that with and most faiths, if we think about it, are concerned with this, the basic constraint of having a higher status rebirth. But if we look at this in the context of Buddha Dharma, then we're looking at a refuge, understanding the law of cause and effect, cultivating ethics, and so forth. But then we start to look at the human condition, and even if we're born human, sometimes if we compare it to animals, animals can eat, play, and sleep, and they often sleep very well, and often humans can't sleep. So in that sense, sometimes even in if we look at the world, even in the human condition, the suffering is there because we have stress, trauma, worries. I wonder if sometimes animals have these. They seem to sleep well most of the time, animals. Anyway, what's being said is that even being human, there's no respite to problems. So just having a rebirth of higher status is not enough. Being human is not that big a deal. In fact, then one seeks to be free from basically the three non-valid states, or three afflictive states of mind, and removing the root of that, which is the unawareness or ignorance which grasps at things being truly existent. And to do that, then one strives not just for the birth of higher status of being a human or God, but one strives for the state of liberation. And one sees that the means to do that, in terms of the practitioner of middling capacity, is by training in the three higher trainings, and then knowing what to adopt and abandon in context of the Four Noble Truths, so that that liberated state, or the goal of that, is gone for medium capacity. Kibudingwa, no.
네, 너 뒤윤 수수게 말한저 디어로 그자래 니만이 만나다 지 동해다 강해다 마지거든데 여러
Yeah,
말 마지고 싶지도 삼네 대마대에 채로 어디 간의 정도 상당대로 간의 정도 중사대 어디 차단이네 중화대다 별람상라 초용 거래 초직라 쇼지 차로 가자 가타월라 되네 아니 동해 망부시지 용되기도 차버지네로 야 초직라 마가베 심 숙점벌래네 아니 마지버지 용되기도 다 가다 마갈라야 돼 아니 가서야 되래 수술이지 편도치기 요로 수술 송접치기 요로 수술직 되바요에서 그러지 가신이에서 그러고 된대로 직체 용되기 요래 아니 지금 마가서야 돼 마제 줌젠지 수술 뇌외란신 수술을 만드는 미신달라 뇌외와 부육라 뇌외와 지졸 뇌외와 근데로 통은디 마가베 심을 실내용도 와 줌젠로지 무슨 되어로지 뒤로 다시 상호야 오제 당요나 아니 수술 가세 미디 펜토베 줌젠당을 수술 송교체와 당 직배 딘데지에나 디 이마지야 디 노바제여로 노바제니데 펜토니데 노바제여로 제가 줌젠데 상당하네 가세미데 마가스 차고야니 마가세미데 가서 차고니르시
yeah.
줌젠 리버 상당하네 와모이네데 상당하네 아다데 레미도 문에데 줌젠데 지버르샤 가나가냠레샤 도나도냠레샤 알하와르데지 ngobotamje juwadoyore gyuntyunji judoyore ngoboge gyundi matyune chik gyuntyunji namba damanda gyundo togoramje zegi gyundi rodege yorma
Mhm.
tenaji mananzo 아니 ngazo 미세야 돼 겨울에니 균디 마 셰베 균디 로데기 여러 상상을 튼두 차도 상상을 하차도 상상을 미차도 미나를 상상을 부모 차도 상상을 부차도 요래 제가 거 내와스게 미디 겨울 아니 겨울 망보지라 수수 가세 미디 마가스 차디요 마가세 미디 겨울 먼저라 미가와 차 겨울 맞이 그 상으로 이제 따는데 아니 심지 탐제에 수술하지 배 가나 녀이나 임바든 다이나 임바라고 싶어 다 다다 녀니네 엔 베니게 차데 수술라 펜도 차데 와 심지 신기 거디면 가서 소도에면도 너보다 펜바니 파 자자르지 페나 엔 심지 신기 수술라 펜바 이 자자 망아이를 요된 것이로 그래서 대절로 상무다는데 아 나도 상마 말아베데 녀이나 이냠 다이나 이녀레샤 선배 땅용 상무로시 리트비나 아니 당보 태고 준비 상마당 군어디 수수기 냠용드네 근데 상무지
Lam Chimbolong, lo.
음
Now, even before thinking on Tikpa Chimbolam, Mayana path, one needs to think on equanimity. Let's think like this. Sometimes when you're going through problems in life, not reacting immediately, but just thinking about the source of one's difficulties, that there is excitement and aversion or attachment and aversion. There are those beings one likes and there's a tendency to like because they've benefited you and they are the object of your affection in that regard or the object of your desire. So you guard that. And then there are those whom you don't like or an object of your aversion because they have harmed you or harmed your friend or harmed your society. Now, when you put logic to these above situations, you put reasons and think on it well, whether they have benefited you through help or harmed you for being an obstacle or a harmer, that can change in time. The helper can become the harmer, and the harmer can become the helper. So these twofold attitudes of liking and attachment on the one hand, or aversion and not liking on the other, well, when you apply logic to them, it is the same. Whether they help you or they harm you, it is the same over a vast period of time. But the second point is that phenomena change. Things go through momentary change, meaning that they take appearances that are constantly changing. That happens in terms of things, but also in terms of humans. Sometimes as humans, we are females. Sometimes as humans, we are males. And there is this uncertainty around the change. And bringing that back to the context of friends that can become foes and foes that can become friends. That's very important to think of in the context of time without beginning, because that relationship, if we look at the friend benefiting and the foe harming, what we're wanting to look at is how we sustain ourselves. So reflecting on the way that we've benefited is more favorable and useful. And before we even start thinking about the Mahayana, it's good to have a mind of equanimity in this regard. Tangyom gilo.
진에 다 수술다 단단한 낭바 순이시나 파마사데 아마스니데 다 자지 뭐 쉬지 지기요래 나 미수수네다라와 가실래야 그래서 주주간 아메 점교 말하거든데 요러
Yeah.
다들 좀 믹스해라 만찰라 수수 아메 점교 요러 다음에 수업에 양 점교면은 아니 고백는라 다제베 거딘디 요러 들어
Yep.
대상당으로 거딘들 니 상당으로 찍디 간거 점블링들 제여로 디 아마 담바베 거딘을 받아 다드네 니 야제니야 소뇽 체버데 상무직 담베이나 데 거딘지를 되어 다디 겨와디가 아마 근데나 겨와라 통마메데 심지 탐제랑게 Ama chinyon bai resha, bawa chinyon bai resha, pugu chinyon bai resha, chobo chinyon bai resha, chomo chinyon bai resha, da dusa tangwa chinan diyo bede ta. Mune khurang iya shiv chigi tanda nga zo sim nangla, simda rinpo chi le degdo. Simda rinpo deya mindu, mune shina tsangma lo nga zo be nyen rao resha. La diyo tanda chanchu simbe dungla, simje tamche daga drendu nyen sechidwa. Di
Yeah.
sim di, tendeji samudane ta ligirwa. Di me le nana chanchu ki sim kiya pe kakore. Kaza na simje tamche la jeji pangbe yi dunga we loshi tongora. Ta di nganzo tong tuku mendo karachina sana nganzo simje tamche daga drendu nyen tuku yo mare. Ane nganzo ta yawa yenje chi legi yorwa. Ta di ta nga ta di nangbe chik sheta sheki do de. Ta ngayo nizu de ngara dila kagi yo, ngara dila kagi me.
Yeah.
Dāni ñorā de tā kōt tā thāngā dē rē, ñorā de nē thāyā kērē ngā.
Yeah. And then from the context of Buddha Dharma, realizing how sentient beings are precious, in terms of the kindness of the mother for oneself in this life. Yeah, in some special circumstances, some people didn't get love from the mother, but most did receive that affection from the mother. And if not as an infant, then certainly in the womb. So let's look at these two things. Firstly, just the fact that you're born in this world is due to the mother's kindness. And then secondly, as you grew up as an infant, she sustained your life with her kindness. So therefore, we need to think in the context of this life, relationship with the mother, and take that thought to all sentient beings over a vast period of time, seeing that they've all, in fact, been not only our mothers, but fathers, friends, dear ones, children, and so forth. And in the context of cultivating this vast mind, one should not recourse to bias, discriminating, I like that, but I don't like that, or close and far. Because as it says in the bodhicitta ceremony, I shall hold all beings as my dear guest. And if you can't have that loving affection generated to all beings, you can't possibly generate bodhicitta. So that loving affection mind, to see them all as your invited guest, is necessary. But if we constantly kind of demarcate, oh, I like that one, but I don't like that one, even though we know Buddha Dharma, then we're just going to stay in problems. Yes.
Di indu da simje shinla pyamba bashi, rāla kārdin chingi simje dīla pyamba bashi dhūgu dhūs. Da simje nji pyamba dīji dhūbya, dhūb tuji tānda ngā rāngzu dīji dhūb dhūgu mandā rā. Susu dūngi sē dhūgu mandā, susu dīji dhūb dhūgu mandā wā. Da simje shinji dūngi dā dīji, dūngi sē dā dīji dhūbya nūwa dī sūla dhō. Tamda na da benjo tam nyenda kō lōngzhō kazo yu nā dī sē dhūgu mandā wā. Da sanje ji gōmbā sī nī tamna. 아니 세도도 스르바 가서나 파르고 심지지 내가도 신의 텔레베베 아니 상무단단지 라베이나 다 동해세야데 상무단단지 원데 연대기 여러 방어서 데 주가단tum나 아니 동해를 타르게도 세상다 디인디응에 심지신 담제 동해에서야 디유트비아시 산제 공마토고도 삼들레나 텔레야 기우침부글람 기우침부스 거래 제가 로제 자차도 와라.
Then if we start to think about benefiting or wanting to benefit other beings, first one needs to be able to help oneself, and then you can help others. So who is in the best position to help others? One is not going to be able to do it with fame or wealth, but it is only an awakened one, a fully awakened one, a Buddha, that can help others firstly know, and then remove their sufferings. Because mostly what beings are going through is mental, and that state of suffering, being mental, has to undergo change. And it is with that awakened attitude of a Buddha, one is able to bring that about. So the thought then to attain to that state of awakening is the vast capacity practitioner's resolve.
gyuchung gyuting gyuchimbo standang LamRim ge jushi zodi odege LamRim ba de da she ngor jelro.
Yeah, so that then is the three of initial, middling, and vast capacities. And we will go through this in the latter stages of the classes.
Oh yeah, tiwa.
Any questions now?
Tiwa me na de sha.
If no questions, we'll dedicate it.
Oh yeah.
Page 31.
Oh yeah, me lo
At all
tam
time, Vira Rinchi, Ide Kempa, Sangye Shingdu, Mete Buai, Chokun Namda, Shingna,
Jetsun Lama Kunze Raptenche. Nam Katrin Lake Joku Gelpadam. Lo Sang Tempe Draw Me Sa Sungi. Draw E Mun Sao Tag Tuni Guji. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamnayami. Due to the merit of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha, and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Whatever slight positive potential I may have created by paying homage, offering, and acknowledging my faults, rejoicing and requesting that the Buddha
stand teach.
I now
and now
dedicate all this to full awakening.
awakening.
I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious ones thus gone of the three times, that I might perform the noble body suffered deeds. May the King of Dharma, Tsongkhapa's way of Dharma practice and flourish. May the omens of obstacles be pacified, and all conducive circumstances be complete. The wish granting, wish fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world. To the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who makes extremely clear the path that is unification of emptiness and compassion. To the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Mujinan's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please swiftly return. By relying on the two accumulations of myself and others in the three times, may the teachings of the conqueror Losang Dragpa blaze for a long time. And the separate sheet, swift return prayer for Lama Zoharinpoche, peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratika Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru, to you I make requests. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for all mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples.
Good night.